You know, and I've been asking for like 8 months. No one seems to be following this. How can he afford? He has 2 houses, right? And they're both really nice. A senator makes $174,000 a year. It's a lot of money, right? A lot of money. But not when it comes relative to the size of the guy's 2 houses. Like, you couldn't pay the taxes and the upkeep on those houses with that. You know, isn't that really interesting? And so, where do you think he's funding his life from now? It all makes sense. The $10 million for the big guy. It all makes sense. And you know what's amazing? The media won't even talk about it. I mean, ABC News has spent 0 time, not a second of time talking about the scandal. I mean, they totally carry this guy's water for him. I mean, it's unbelievable. It is robbery. You see a guy who gets kicked out of the Navy for doing drugs, right? And what, 2 months later, he gets $1.5 billion for his fund from China? Does anybody actually believe that a kid that gets kicked out of the Navy should get $1.5 billion for his fund? The Chinese don't give anybody money, right? Yet they give Hunter Biden, who got kicked out of the Navy 3 weeks earlier, they're going to give him money? Come on. He sits on the board of a natural gas company making $85,000, $83,000 a month. He doesn't speak the language. Yeah, that's right. Come on, man. Come on, man. Everybody knows he rightfully got that job. $83,000 a month. He doesn't speak the language, and he doesn't know anything about oil and gas, and he'd never been to the Ukraine. Other than that, he's remarkably qualified. I mean, give me a break, right? And so, guys, you know, honestly, I always say in 2016, we were running against incompetence. My father was running against incompetence, and that's why he jumped into a race. I'll never forget, he'd be reading the paper, and, you know, the United States, we're ranked 30th in the world in terms of education. And he's sitting there saying, how in the world, you know, you see these beautiful kids here, how in the world could we be ranked 30th in the world in terms of education? And he'd read another article. Yeah, it certainly is Common Core, and it's a lot of things, right? But he'd read another article, you know, our military's depleted and our, you know, fighter planes can't take off. And we're going to museums to borrow parts from museum planes to get our fighter jets airborne, right? And how could our military get this depleted? And then he reads an article 3 days later, you know, the United States gives $150 billion to Iran, including cargo planes full of cash that they fly over to Tehran. And they're over there chanting death to America, right? Yet they're raising our taxes. Yet they're giving $150 billion to a country that chants death to America and hates all of us, hates our way of life, hates what these symbolize. And guys, that's why my father jumped in. Then you looked at the economy. You look at the unemployment that they had. They had 10% unemployment, and you know, the slowest recovery coming out of a recession ever, right? And that's why my father jumped in, and he ran against incompetence in 2016, and we beat incompetence. But now you look at what he's running against. I mean, it's not the Democratic Party. Let's take the word Democratic out of our minds. It is the far left, socialist, communist, call it whatever you want, party. You know, they want to take away your freedom of speech. Does anybody like Kayleigh McEnany here, White House press secretary? They banned Kayleigh from Twitter the other day. They literally banned her. They shut off her account, all right? Does anybody like Charlie Kirk? He's got a great voice, right? They banned Charlie Kirk from Twitter. Every day my father's censored, and you better believe if I'm censored, if my father's censored, you better believe they'll censor all of us, right? I mean, and so they want to take away your First Amendment. They want to attack God in this country. They want to attack religion, which we're not going to allow happen. We're simply not going to allow it to happen. You know, it's really amazing. They took out the words under God in the Pledge of Allegiance. Did anybody see that during the DNC? So they go, and I'm watching the DNC, and like, production quality is horrible. Ever since Weinstein went to jail, ever since Harvey Weinstein went to jail, their production quality went to hell. It's kind of like an amazing thing, right? So anyway, I'm watching. At the beginning of the Pledge of Allegiance, they do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I go, they just missed 2 words in there. And I go, whoa, so I rewinded it. They literally took the words under God out of the Pledge of Allegiance. And by the way, they don't want the Pledge of Allegiance in schools. I mean, this is the same crowd that, you know, kneels for the national anthem, kneels for the Pledge of Allegiance when it is said. Did you see the whole football thing today where you had 2 commentators making fun of the flyovers? They go under Under Harris, this would never happen. We would never have a beautiful military jet proudly fly over a football stadium. They would never allow that to happen. I'm sitting there saying, who are these people? Who are these people? Guys, it's crazy. It's crazy. So they want to take a religion away. They want to take faith away. They want to open up liquor stores, but they want to close down churches. Doesn't make any sense. By the way, they want to take away your Second Amendment, which is a really important thing for me. I would imagine this group has a lot of guns, right? I have a lot of guns, but I imagine this group has a lot of guns. She has a lot of guns. She's a big hunter right there. She's a big hunter in the family. So they want to come after your Second Amendment. They want to take away... You know, so it's really interesting. The same party that wants to defund police, the same party that wants to defund police also wants to take away your right to protect yourself. Isn't that kind of interesting? It's kind of interesting how that works. And by the way, you see this war on police and law enforcement in general. They're the greatest men and women we have in this country, and we love you guys. I know there's a lot of law enforcement here tonight, but we love you and we appreciate you, and America loves you. And it's not just the troopers and the PD, the Secret Service. These are the greatest guys in the world. They really are. They're not allowed to smile. They're not allowed to laugh. These guys are the greatest guys in the world. I love them to death. And also the first responders and everybody. But what is it? So the Democratic Party, they want to defund them. It's not they want to defund them. They're currently defunding them. So I'm almost ashamed to be from New York, right? Because New York's gone to total hell. I mean, we've got the worst. If you think your governor's bad, I'll trade you your governor right now for my governor. Do you want Cuomo? Are you sure? How about we just send them both somewhere that's out of our state? It's amazing. So if you look in New York, guys, right? I mean, just take the New York City. So they take $1 billion out of the NYPD, right? They get rid of all undercover law enforcement. And guess what? In 90 days, I pulled a Biden. In 90 days, crime goes up by 300%, right? In 90 days, what does anybody expect? They demoralize cops, they defund them, and you see Kamala Harris going out there, right? You see Kamala Harris. She's comparing ICE officers to the KKK. This is real. This is real. This is who these people are. And guys, I promise you, we will be behind law enforcement every second of our lives. We will never, ever, ever let them down. But you have a war by the Democratic Party on law enforcement. And now you have taxes. This is their new thing. Not only do they want to reverse my father's tax cuts, the largest tax cuts ever, they want to add $4 trillion additional dollars in taxes to the economy. So for anybody who owns a business, for any businesses out there, for anybody who has a pension fund or an IRA or a retirement fund or a 401k, guys, they're gone. If they add $4 trillion, our economy is gone. We can't afford that. Our country can't afford that, right? This is what these people want to do. And then you hear these Biden commercials. We want to bring manufacturing back to the United States. I go, first of all, you lost the last election because you plagiarized. You're clearly doing that again, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. So, you know, Biden signed NAFTA, right? NAFTA cost this country 70,000 factories. 70,000. I didn't think there were 70,000 factories in this country. It cost this country 70,000 factories. And now we're going to bring manufacturing back. When his pal Obama, remember he went around, there's no magic wand that we can use to bring manufacturing back to the United States. And the question I have is, why did it take a real estate developer from New York and a family who, quite frankly, didn't want to be in politics? And I'm telling you guys, it's like a horrible, horrible pastime. I mean, it's a terrible pastime, all right? Do yourself a favor. No one, and kids cover your ears, no one get into politics here. It's like a terrible profession. It's horrible. Thank God we have the congressman. Where's the congressman? He does a great job in Washington. Hey, we need to kick Nancy Pelosi out and get a lot more of him, all right? Yeah, we do. We gotta lock a lot of people up. We gotta lock a lot of people up. We should start with Hunter, and then we can get on to Omar. How does everyone like Omar? She's great, huh? But guys, so this is what we're fighting. We're fighting for our First Amendment right. We're fighting for religious liberty. We're fighting for our Second Amendment. We're fighting for manufacturing in this country. We're fighting for law enforcement. We're fighting for our military. We're fighting to have these things not get burned by Antifa. It's true. We are. By the way, make no mistake, we are fighting for the kids in this audience. It's half the reason we do it. And then you look at my father, right? I mean, what does my father stand for? Pretty simple guy. Greatest economy in the world. Lowest unemployment. Lowest African American unemployment. Lowest Hispanic unemployment. Fastest wage growth. You know, great markets. Manufacturing coming back to this country, right? That's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for the greatest military on the face of this earth ever. Not even close. You know, it's amazing. One of the first stories my father has from getting to D.C. It's really amazing. There's a couple good ones, but this was, he had one of the Joint Chiefs of Staff come up to him, and, you know, right at the beginning, obviously this was, you know, top secret initially. I mean, he talks about it now, but one of the Joint Chiefs of Staff came up to him and said, "Sir, whatever you do, you know, don't get into any conflicts." And he goes, "I wasn't really planning on assuming office and going to war like that. I'm trying to get people out of wars, not enter wars." It's kind of amazing. He wants to pull everybody out of Iraq and Afghanistan and all these countries, not enter wars, but he goes, "I wasn't really planning on it, but why do you say that?" He goes, "Sir, as a country, we are out of ammunition. Our military is out of ammunition." No, that's a real story. It's like not funny. It's as a country, our stockpiles of ammunition, our military stockpiles of ammunition are gone. And my father's sitting there saying, "How the hell did you let this happen? How in the world could you possibly have let this happen? None of you guys should have ammo, that much I can tell you, right? I'm not out of ammo. Is anybody here out of ammunition?" Right. And so the U.S. military was out of ammo, and he said, "What are you doing?" And that's why he fought so hard for the $721 billion per year to rebuild our military. And now you see these planes. You see these planes coming off the lines, right? These F-35s. You've got the best fighter planes. You've got the best aircraft carriers. You've got the best submarines. Space Force. Who likes Space Force? Did you see that? The first ceremony this morning was actually the first 4 cadets this morning were sworn into the United States Space Force. So the best satellites. And I'm sure there's lots of top secret stuff in there we could only dream about knowing. But, you know, the ultrasonic weapons and the other things. I mean, we're no longer behind the curve. You know what? Our military comes first, and we can take anybody on. And my father's philosophy was always very simple, right? You never want to go to war. He wants to be out of every war because we wasted $11 trillion in the Middle East. $11 trillion. I mean, imagine what that could have done for Michigan, and imagine what that could have done for public schools and infrastructure and bridges. Instead, we lost it over there, and we lost thousands and thousands of people. But his philosophy with the military is always very simple, right? If we ever have to go in, you have the greatest military in the world, and you go in and you hit them so hard that their heads spin, and then you get the hell out. You're out, right? You get out. And no one ever messes with the United States again, ever, right? Because you hit them so hard. You know, you go in and you fight to win. And that's what my father's all about. Everything he wants to do is win. He wants to win for this country. He's sick and tired of politicians apologizing for the greatness of America. We live in the greatest country in the world. We love you. And we do live in the greatest country in the world. So that's what he wants. He wants the best economy. He wants the best military. He wants peace in the Middle East. You see 2 new peace deals this week. I mean, think about it. You had countries that hated each other so much, right? You never had a plane. Think about this concept. You never had a plane ever take off in one country and land in the other. And these countries aren't that far apart, right? You never had a plane because, you know, religions and languages and wars for years and disputed borders. And you know what? They always said, if you move the embassy to Jerusalem, which my father moved to Jerusalem, right? If you ever move the embassy, you're going to stir up a hornet's nest. That was John Kerry. You remember that famous quote, right? You're going to stir up a hornet's nest. And so my father immediately didn't listen to him because John Kerry's been wrong about just about everything. It's kind of like Biden, right? And it's kind of like Obama. They were wrong on just about everything. He moved the embassy, and guess what? 6 months later, everybody's coming forward. They want peace deals. They want peace in the Middle East. Isn't that a beautiful thing? And then my father wanted energy independence. Isn't that an amazing thing, right? We have the lowest fuel costs, and what you want to talk about something that helps agriculture and farmers. We have the lowest fuel costs in the world right now. I mean, gas is under $2. And I don't know why people forget. Do you remember under Obama and Biden, gas was, $5.50, $6? Do you remember this? If you had a pickup truck, my truck, it'd be like $130 to fill up the tank. Now you go, it's like $52 or something to fill up 25 gallons. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, right? But yet the Democrats, they come out, we want to get rid of fossil fuels. It's the greatest advantage we have as a nation. China would give half of its population for the amount of natural gas and resources that we have in this country. Why would we give that away? And you have Biden, right? So Biden 3 weeks ago was, we're going to ban fracking, we're going to ban fuel, we're going to ban coal, we're going to ban steel, we're going to ban everything, right? Then all of a sudden he shows up in Pittsburgh. This was like the greatest thing. And this reporter comes up to him and, Mr. Biden, sir, we hear you want to ban natural gas and oil and gas and fracking. That's not very popular in Pennsylvania. No, man, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. The other guy wants to do it. The other guy wants to do it. It's like, you can't make this up. He did the same thing with law enforcement, right? The exact same thing where Kamala Harris comes out and calls, the ICE, the KKK, and everything else, right? And he says that he wants to reallocate funding to social workers. So I want to ask the question. So when somebody's driving down the highway doing like 130 at 4 o'clock in the morning, they're hammered. Does a social worker pull over the drunk driver? Is that what happens? Like, when there's a shooting somewhere, does a social worker run in there and try and use their, breathing exercise? Exactly, they're breathing. That was good timing, man. That was really, really good. Yeah, to use their breathing exercises to talk down. No. That's why you have law enforcement. I mean, so anyway, he shows up in Pittsburgh, all right? And Mr. Biden, Pennsylvania really loves law enforcement, and this isn't very popular. No, man, I don't want to ban law enforcement. I don't want to defund the police. The other guy wants to do that, the other guy. And so I'm in an interview. I'm in Pittsburgh like the following day, right? And I'm doing an interview. I'm like, the guy wants to ban law enforcement. He wants to ban fracking. No, he said he didn't want to do that. I just asked him yesterday. I'm like, we have something called YouTube. We're not living when this farm was first created in 1833. We have YouTube, we have Google. Like the guy said it last week that he wanted to defund police and he wanted to ban oil and gas and fracking, right? No different than the gun stuff, right? He comes out, Beto O'Rourke will be my gun czar. He's going to take away your AR-14s. I'm like, I don't know, man. You can have all of my AR-14s, but don't take my AR-15s and don't take my AR-10s, all right? Like, thank God our AR-14s are totally safe, all right? They're totally safe. It's unbelievable, guys. It's unbelievable. I mean, these people, they're liars. So my father wants to save oil and gas, and he wants to save the farmers. And you know how you save the farmers? You tariff the hell out of China because they've been ripping us off for years. There's never been a person who's gone after China. I mean, there's no president. No president has ever had the backbone to go after them, right? And guys, it's not just what they were doing to manufacturing. They stole all our manufacturing out of this country because Obama and Biden and, frankly, Bush and Clinton, a lot of people allowed it to happen, right? It was all of them that allowed it to happen. They stole all our manufacturing. They stole all of our jobs. They stole most of our industry. They stole just about all of our intellectual property because they were stealing that every single day. They sent fentanyl. Does anybody remember this? They sent fentanyl all over the United States, which destroyed our youth. And they were happy doing it. They're still sending it to Mexico. Now they gave us coronavirus. It was really nice of them, right? They gave the entire world coronavirus. You know, they stole all our ag, right? So they weren't buying anything. And then anything that, anything we sent them, they didn't pay tariff on. But anything that I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. Anything that we sent over there, we had to pay a massive tariff on, but we could import all their stuff for free. China has ripped off this country for years, and I promise you, they had their worst year last year. You know that, right? After my father put on 25% tariffs. Put on 25% tariffs because a lot of it was they weren't buying any agriculture from the farmers here in the U.S. It's one of the reasons, one of the main reasons he did it. And guess what? They had their worst year in 67 years. You know that, right? Worst year. And that's why Nancy Pelosi comes out the other day and she goes, China wants Biden. And I go, oh my God, that's like that is the greatest. Thank you, Nancy Pelosi. We appreciate that. She literally said that, guys. She literally said that. She goes, China wants Biden. I go, I know they do. You know why? They own his son. They've spent the last decade buying his son. Of course they want Biden. Of course they want Biden. But guys, you know what? We're no longer getting ripped off. And the farmers are doing better than ever before. Guys, we love the farming community. We really do. And then you look at prescription drugs. Look at prescription drugs, right? So we are getting ripped off by the entire world. So, Pfizer or one of these Merck or one of these companies would make a drug. And they would sell it to an American for $10 a pill. But they would sell it to somebody who lives in France or Germany or anywhere else around the world. They were selling it for like 50 cents, 60 cents, $1. And so my father comes in saying, let me ask you a question. Why are you selling the same drug that you're selling to an American for $10 to somebody in France for $1? Why is that happening? Well, he goes, no, you're not subsidizing the cost of the research and development of these drugs by using Americans' hard-earned money. You're not doing that. So he did a little thing the other day. It's called Most Favored Nations. Has anybody heard of this? So you can't sell a pharmaceutical to a foreign nation for a cheaper price than you would sell it to somebody in America. And by the way, it's why you see the amount of money that the pharmaceutical companies are pouring against my father right now, and it's great. By the way, he wears it as like a badge of courage. Does that make sense? It's like they spent billions against him, but he goes, that's not right. I mean, we're finally putting America first. We're not putting Iran first. We're not putting China first. We're not putting Mexico first. By the way, look at the wall. Look at the wall. So he's done 340 miles of wall. 340 miles of wall. So 340 miles of wall. And by the way, there's another 210 miles pre-construction, meaning they've graded it and they put in the foundation. So now the wall is going up like 7 miles a day. It's unbelievable how fast that thing's going up, right? Being made out of American steel. Isn't that a nice thing that's being made out of American steel? And illegal immigration. Illegal immigration is down by 90% right now. 90%. And human trafficking, even maybe more important, human trafficking is at its lowest numbers ever. Isn't that a nice thing? And drugs coming across the southern border, the lowest ever. Isn't that a nice thing? But yeah, you remember these guys. We don't need a wall. We'll use a drone. They're going to put a drone up there and take beautiful pictures of people coming across an invisible line. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, this is the common sense of the radical left. We're going to use a drone. They didn't want to use a drone. They would have disbanded Border Patrol, and they wanted open borders. And yeah, they are liars. But isn't it amazing? My father ran on bringing critical manufacturing back to the United States, bringing manufacturing in general back to the United States, building a wall, knowing who's in the country, having a great army, and then all of a sudden COVID hits. And wouldn't it actually be nice if we would have manufactured anything in the United States? It is actually national security if you think about it, isn't it? Right? The second we needed N95 masks, all the orders that we had through 3M and all these great companies, China goes, you're not sending those over to the U.S. We need them. So congratulations. They confiscated all our masks. I mean, guys, this is crazy. That's why you need manufacturing in this country. But we're not getting ripped off anymore. Guys, I could go on and on. You have right to try, something that is so important to me. You know, he gets no credit for right to try. He gets no credit for right to try at all. You know, that's where if you're critically ill, stage 4, they have an experimental drug, it might have a chance of saving your life. It doesn't have to go through 20 years of FDA and all these other things. You get to try it. It's called right to try. And if it works, fantastic. And guys, the amount of people's lives it saved, the amount of people's lives it saved has been incredible. And you look at the battle, you look at the war on opioids right now and what he's doing against that. The opioids that have destroyed our youth in this country, that have absolutely destroyed it, and what he's doing to tackle that. But despite all this stuff, guys, and I could go on for hours. I could go on for hours about this stuff. He gets no credit. By the way, NATO's another great one, right? Like, we're paying, exactly, pay your bills. We pay 4.4% of our GDP to NATO, right? Germany pays 1.1%, and they weren't even paying. They hadn't paid in like 6 years. So he goes, okay, then we're just going to pull out of NATO. We're not going to pay anything into NATO. You guys can have NATO. You guys fund it yourself. Guess what? All of a sudden, billions of dollars started flowing into NATO. Isn't that like an amazing thing? Guys, it's about putting America first. It's about not getting ripped off. And I don't know why it took a real estate guy that knew nothing about politics to figure this out. I remember, you know, the congressman will love this. I remember going to Iowa, right? We didn't have any friends in politics. It was literally my father, myself, and Don. You know, then we had like Corey Lewandowski, right? There was like 4 of us total, right? They were the only people that actually like believed that, you know, he could do this. And I remember going to Iowa, and I asked one of the staffers on the way there, I'm speaking at the caucuses, the famous Iowa caucuses, right? And I look over at like, you know, one of the guys on the campaign, and, hey, can somebody explain to me, please, what a caucus is? And they go, sir, you're going to go on one side. You're going to explain to everybody why your father would be a better candidate than, you know, the other people. I go, who are the other people? Well, Jeb Bush will be there, and Marco Rubio. I go, these guys actually know something about politics. I build buildings. I don't know anything about politics. What the hell do I know about politics? And by the way, it is good. But why did it take a guy who's been in New York, right, who knew nothing about politics, either side, why did it take him to come out and figure, you know, criminal justice reform out? Why didn't Obama do criminal justice reform? Why? You know, why didn't Obama do opportunity zones? Why didn't he do that? Why didn't he do something about immigration? Why didn't he do something to help the farmers? Well, you're right. He didn't care. Second of all, they weren't smart enough to figure it out. Third of all, they've got no work ethic. They don't have your work ethic. Trust me, I can tell you that. They don't have your work ethic. And so, guys, this is what we're fighting against. I mean, and listen, I'll end with this. I mean, we are the last family in the world that needs this stuff. We wake up every single day. I say this every day. We wake up every single day, and they punch us in the face before we wake up, before breakfast, and we go to bed, and the media is attacking us, and you see how horrible they are every single day. And it's the last job in the world that we needed. But I truly, truly believe he's saving this country. I truly, truly believe that. Because you know what? If Obama did a good job, guys, guess what? He wouldn't have had to run. If Obama and Biden did such a wonderful job, he wouldn't have stood a chance. He wouldn't have stood a chance. And guys, believe me, somebody was looking down from up there on this process. You know, Hillary raised $1.5 billion, right? And then she had lots of other stuff, and she actually had friends in the media. So she had the entire media. She raised $1.5 billion. She knew something about politics. She had been to Washington, D.C. more than like 3 times, right? You know, my father raised $300 million, right? He had never been to Washington, D.C., and he had myself and Don and like my wife, Laura, and Ivanka, right? And Corey Lewandowski, right? You better believe that somebody's hand was on his shoulder marching him through. You better believe that. You better believe that there was a little bit of a David and Goliath, or a lot of a David and Goliath there. Otherwise, guys, we wouldn't have stood a chance in the world. And I really do believe that there's going to be a revival in this country, a big revival in this country. He is. He is. And by the way, this might be the revival right here. We might actually be looking at the revival if you think about it. Because, Biden went to Miami 2 days ago. He went to Miami. I said this at the beginning. He had no one there, no one. He was looking at a billboard, massive billboard. He had no one there. Other than the mariachi band that he paid to be there. They didn't even want to be there. And you have a guy like me who's not on the ticket. I just love my father. I speak from the heart. And look at the crowds we get all over the place. I mean, there's still a line of people coming in. So the guy that's actually on the ticket, meaning his name is on the ticket, my name will not be, because No, I don't. Honestly, guys, horrible profession. And other than your incredible congressman here, I don't like most politicians. I really don't, right? I really don't. But why do we get these crowds? And why? And this guy gets none. He showed up in Arizona. Literally, no one showed up to see him. Kamala Harris goes around. No one shows up to see her. No one shows up to see them. So maybe, guys, maybe we're actually looking at the revival right here. Maybe we're looking at it. And you know what? When you look at these crowds that my father had, I'm not sure, did anybody watch a rally last night in Arizona or Nevada? Guys, there's 30,000 people there. They're waiting for hours and hours and hours. Their kids are dressed up with babies for Trump gear and garb, and I mean, it's unbelievable. I can't tell you how many babies I've literally signed on the campaign trail. I mean, parents are keeping kids out of school to go celebrate something incredible. They see a movement, guys. They see a movement. They want to be part of it, and they love it, right? And yet this guy who's been there for 47 years, he can't get 3 people in an audience. I mean, he literally can't. And so, guys, I really believe maybe we're seeing the revival. Maybe this is a revival here tonight. And you know what? It's amazing. We did a lot of these in 2016. They didn't have half the enthusiasm as they did. They had a lot of enthusiasm in 2016, but nothing like today. But, it's amazing. Everywhere we went, Congressman, you remember these chants, right? You had lock her up. That was pretty funny. Did anybody like that chant, lock her up? And then we modified lock her up to lock him up to talk about. Then we modified it to talk about Hunter Biden. Now you're actually probably talking about Joe Biden, considering he was a beneficiary of the money. So you had lock her up, which morphed into lock him up, right? Which is funny. And then you had one CNN blank, right? I won't say it because there's some kids in the audience, and so you had that one. That one was funny. Everybody liked that one, right? And it's generally true. ABC might be actually worse than CNN these days. I think ABC News is actually worse. And then you had the build the wall chant. A couple of people really liked that chant before. But guys, he was in Arizona the other day, and actually Arizona and North Carolina, and they started chanting, "We love you, we love you." I'm telling you, this is no longer a political campaign. This truly is a movement, guys. This is love. I mean, guys, this isn't a political campaign. It's a movement. You guys are family. Honestly, we're all family together, and we're all fighting for the same thing, which is these right here. We're all fighting for the same thing. And so here's what I promise you guys. I promise you, as a family, you will have no family in political history who has ever worked harder than ours. And then, by the way, in 14 days, I get to retire, and I'll throw on a pair of Carhartts, and I'll get in a tree stand with my bow. Any hunters here? A lot of hunters here. All right, I'm coming back. When this thing's over, I'm coming back. We're going to go celebrate the rut together, all right? But I promise you guys, there is no family in political history that will work harder than our family. We will be the first family you see. We will be the first people you see on TV in the morning. We will be the last family to annoy you at night before you go to bed. Guys, we will fight every single second. The congressman mentioned me before, but we did 55 stops, 55 between my father, the VP, Don, myself, Ivanka, and my wife. Does anybody like my wife, by the way? Any women out here? She's the best Trump, if you want to know the truth. I tell my father that all the time. I go, Laura Trump's actually the best Trump. But guys, we did 55 stops in the last 48 hours. 55 stops around the country. There hasn't been a swing state that we haven't been in, meaning there hasn't been a state that we haven't been in. 55 stops in 48 hours. Guys, I promise you, there is no family that'll work harder. We're going to go win this thing. Get out there and vote. Bring everybody out to vote. We're going to win Michigan. Which is not going to make your governor happy, by the way, but we're going to win Michigan. And we're going to win Minnesota. And we're going to win Nevada. We're going to win Arizona. And we're going to win New Mexico. And we're going to win New Hampshire and Florida and North Carolina. And we're going to win Pennsylvania. And we are going to make these people literally... If you thought the meltdown in 2016 was epic, you just wait till you see what happened. Yeah, their heads are going to explode. It's going to be full combustion. Do you guys have any pumpkin cannons in this district? It will be like that when they hit the ground, like full combustion of the heads. Their heads are going to explode. But guys, we love you. God bless you. Get out there and vote. We love you guys. God bless Michigan. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
And there we go. The race is on. 14 days away from Election Day. You're taking a live look right now at the President Trump rally. Expect to get going any moment right now. This is in Pennsylvania. We continue to bring you the very latest across the board right here on News Now from Fox. Some of you are going to take a short 2-minute break, and don't go anywhere because we'll have full coverage of President Trump's rally coming up in just a moment. While we do wait for this rally to get going, I want to show you just, well, in Minnesota, everyone, they, believe it or not, are already getting snow there. It is a snowstorm in Minnesota already, and it's only October. A lot of people must be thinking, well, we knew we were going to get snow this year. I just didn't know it was going to be in the middle of October. They're looking at anywhere from 5 to 8 inches of snow in parts of Minneapolis and other up north as well there in Minnesota. We're also keeping up on some breaking news that we're learning just outside of Chicago in Ford Heights, Illinois. We're learning that an aircraft is down on a roadway. So as soon as we get those pictures up, we will bring that to you here on News Now from Fox. Don't worry, we'll have you in a triple box so you don't miss any movements of President Trump's rally. In the meantime, everybody, we're going to keep the coverage going here. We are going to now take you out for a little bit earlier. It was Ivanka Trump in battleground state, Wisconsin.
That's a lot of questions.
Yeah,
like
I'm sure that
humanizing.
So I thought, Ivanka, let's start with that. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
So I know she laughs, but that's a really hard question. No, my favorite is chocolate chip cookie dough.
Oh, there you go.
First, second, third, and then maybe Oreo.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm hearing ice cream is one of these big things in Wisconsin. Is that right?
Yes. So it's funny that you mentioned that. So one of the things that I've done with my children that's been actually amazing as I've been traveling around the country campaigning in support of the president for 4 more years. Wisconsin's going to help bring us home. But obviously it's hard being on the road, and so I've tried to help my kids participate in this journey. So there's been a great civics lesson. We've learned a lot about the states together. I buy all these books that I share with them. We have a map where we put thumbnails in every city and place that I travel to. So prior to coming here, we read one of the children's books with just fun facts and state facts about Wisconsin. And I learned that Wisconsinites eat 21 million gallons of ice cream a year, which is amazing. And my children, upon learning this, want to move immediately. So the Kushners may be coming to town, but I also learned that the first ice cream sundae was created in this amazing state.
There you go. I'm telling you, it's spending all this wonderful time in this great state. And just to get started, though, on a serious note, okay? You know, your father has had tremendous successes. This administration has done something that I don't think any other administration has been able to do, which is the promises made, promises kept. But you all, as a family, are under constant attacks by the left, by those in the liberal media. Why do you do what you do every day?
Well, it's a bit of a blood sport, this politics thing. And we came from real estate, so, you know, we're not babies, but this is definitely a whole nother level. But, you know, at the end of the day, we do it for the same reason he does it, which we love this country, and we love the people of this country, and it's worth fighting for every single day. And it's really that simple. And I will say, for all the negativity, for all the noise, and certainly all the incredibly biased media coverage that the president receives, the outpouring of love, prayers, it's beautiful. It's amazing. And I would say that far outweighs any little bit of negativity that's thrown his way. Although he probably has more incoming than any human being on the face of the planet in that regard. But the love is so great as well that it's a really beautiful counterbalance. But no, I mean, to be in this business, you have to do it for the impact. And that's what he's all about. And especially when you will upset the status quo and really take the country in a new and better direction, you have to be unafraid of the backlash you'll receive. And he is very unafraid and has more conviction than anyone I've ever met, and has stayed true to that conviction, despite the fact that Washington is notorious for turning even well-intended people into swamp creatures. I mean, that's just what happens. People go and they kind of forget who they were and what they believed and where they came from and who they represent, and people get reduced down to statistics. Communities get reduced to sort of faceless ideas. So he's just not like that. For him, politics is about people. That's why he did it, and that's why he wants to keep doing it, because he knows what he's accomplished, but he knows what's left to do.
Unfortunately, this camera on the back of is not the most sensitive.
And Ivanka, we're facing, this global pandemic. It's impacted all of our lives. You've been impacted personally with family members who have had coronavirus. Tell us about, this is something the president then said, we got to take action. We got to take action immediately. We got to defeat this virus, was the strong words that he used. There was one program in particular that you've been very involved with. It's with Secretary Sonny Perdue and those in the faith community as well, the Farmers to Families program. Share with us this incredible program that's helping to feed millions of families across the country.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Pastor, for your incredible work. Pastor Smith, please stand up. Thank you so much for joining us today. And my husband, Jared, is a huge fan of yours. He went to visit your church maybe around a year ago now for the Joseph Project. And he was so impressed with what you've been able to do. So thank you. But Pastor Smith has also been a great advocate and champion of our Farmers to Family food box program. So this, I think, is a story that really embodies the way this president approached the pandemic, with common sense and fast action, and smart, well-crafted solutions. So whether it was ensuring that our governors had everything they needed, from ventilators to PPE, to meet the challenges, creating at record speed therapeutics that are reducing the mortality rate in this country dramatically. It's extraordinary. Since April, the mortality rate has gone down by 85%, to streamlining a highly bureaucratic process to deliver on a vaccine without compromising efficacy, to also, within a matter of weeks, passing a $4 trillion relief package to make sure that our small businesses, like the one we just visited, right down the road, that our small businesses are able to stay in operation and continue to employ the nearly half of Americans who work for them. And, you know, this is no fault of the worker, it's no fault of the small business owner, and we need to keep them strong for our communities. So he addressed all of these issues at record speed. And one of the programs, which is a very large program in the context of $4 trillion, it doesn't seem as large, but a multi-billion-dollar program that this administration created was called the Farmers to Family Food Box Program. And it was a direct result of the president watching on television and seeing in the newspapers farmers, including the dairy farmers right here in Wisconsin, who were literally taking this beautiful milk and pouring it down the drain. Farmers who were tilling their crops under because the distribution to their supply chain had been completely severed. Once restaurants closed, hotels closed, a lot of the distribution, especially that small farms had put in place, was closed overnight. So he watched this. At the same time, we were seeing reports of food banks with lines around the block. We saw it in Florida. We saw it elsewhere around the country. So he called and he said there's got to be a smarter way to get the crops, the protein, the dairy from our amazing family farms into the hands of those who need it the most. Many of those people who had never even before been to a food bank. You know, there were families who it was so sudden for them because of the onset of this plague. So feeding the most vulnerable amongst us. Within a week, we created this program which gives grants to the faith-based community has been a huge part of the program, but distributors who effectively will take product from point A to point B, because that was the middle. We had the vegetables, the fruit, the protein, the dairy, and we had people in need. It was how do we get it packaged and get it from one place to the next? And it has been just extraordinary. In a matter of months, over 100 million boxes have been delivered across the nation. And you've seen these boxes, Pastor. I mean, a box will feed a family of 4 for around 2 weeks, and these are amazing boxes. And one of the things, and I haven't had the opportunity to go to your church, and I hope that we can remedy that one day, but I did go to a church in Pittsburgh and many churches across the country in support of this program, and one, a Church of God in Christ in Pittsburgh, where I met with a woman who was crying because she had never before given her children, had the ability to give her children fruit like this and vegetables like this. So a lot of churches started putting recipes in the boxes to help people learn how to cook with these really nutritious, amazing, seasonal American crops. So it's an extraordinary program on many levels, but it really goes to how the president thinks. That's just a common sense solution that few people would have thought of.
Now, it's truly a creative solution as well. And I think what we're seeing is with Joe Biden, you know, his emphasis is saying, well, we got to plagiarize the president's plan on coronavirus. But then, in addition to that, let's just keep the economy also shut down. We can't deal with the economic problems right now. And I think that is so different than President Trump's approach. And why is that?
The Republican Party under President Trump is the party of safe reopening. And we have to reopen, right? We now know how to live with this virus, but we have to reopen. And our kids have to go to school. The damage, and we all see it in our own families of kids, even if you just think about the component of losing that social interaction that's so critical, especially for our youngest children, it's really important. Now we have to be smart, we have to be safe, We have to love one another and protect the most vulnerable amongst us and do it with great rigor. But we do need to reopen, and now we are equipped to do so. Our hospitals are prepared. Our doctors, our nurses, they know how to combat this much better than they did in February and March. We have the therapeutics and very soon a vaccine.
It's huge progress that we're making, and it's very important to talk about that message of what President Trump is doing with Operation Warp Speed, the vaccine development, the therapeutics, really working hard to help our hospitals, to help our heroes, our doctors and nurses.
Well, that's a great example, because it's not even a plagiarized plan. I don't think another president who had been part of sort of the D.C. Government bureaucracy, especially not somebody who had been part of it for 47 years, would have thought to do what he did on the vaccine front. Yeah. So in 6 to 7 months, the president has done what would have taken 6 to 7 years without compromising any phase in the process, but truncating it, eliminating what they call dead periods. So between normally phase 1 and phase 2 of a trial, there'd be a 1 to 2 year wait while the company would put together a group of people who would participate in the second phase trial. Well, they were recruiting participants during the earliest days of phase 1 for phase 2, should any of the candidates get to phase 2, thereby allowing it to start immediately. So it doesn't compromise anything. The studies are as robust, but it eliminates months and months, years of downtime and wait, or as they call it, dead time. So it's practical business thinking that's going to enable us to have a vaccine. I'll even give you another example, just pre-purchasing. All the top candidates being produced domestically and around the globe to make sure that Americans are first in line when a viable vaccine passes through the third stage. You know, that takes a lot of creativity and foresight as well. So he's done an extraordinary job on that front, and the whole team involved in Operation Warp Speed.
Absolutely. And we're also leading in testing. He announced 150 million rapid tests that are going to schools, to nursing homes, to protect our most vulnerable, to protect our seniors. Let's shift a little bit to the economy, the great American comeback, right? So we talked about Joe Biden shutting down. Joe Biden now wants to add, I don't know, more taxes. You're talking about $4 trillion worth of taxes. It's the cost of Bidenomics, as the Wall Street Journal editorial mentioned. Why does the president's economic policies, why do they work here in America and here in Wisconsin?
Well, when you think about the president's economic agenda, it's really rooted on 4 pillars. The first is tax cuts, and he has said that he will continue to cut taxes. Tax cuts to enable our businesses to compete in a global playing field, but also tax cuts to ensure that American families can thrive. The middle income tax cuts that have put so much money back into the pockets of hardworking Americans here in Wisconsin as a direct result of tax cuts, Wisconsinites took home an average of $1,400 more just from tax cuts, not including anything else, and elements of tax cuts like the child tax credit, which this president doubled to $2,000 per child, which is extraordinary. In 2019 alone, 40 million American families received an average benefit of $2,200 from the child tax credit. So it's just amazing. So tax cuts is important for competitiveness for our families, and Joe Biden has said that he wants to impose a $4 trillion tax increase on middle-income families. So there's just a totally different philosophy, right, on the tax front. Number 2 is deregulation. I think it's a quality of life issue, as any of you know, when you can't get basic government services without it, taking 6 months to a year, occupational licensure, so many other things that are the direct results of over-regulation. So really addressing that without compromising the environment or safety or all the good things that regulations were intended to protect, where oftentimes they just were poorly executed or had become obsolete or were now part of, like an onion, you peel it back and there are 33 layers of regulation. Probably 2 of them are okay. The rest you can get rid of without anyone noticing, but helping people's quality of life. So deregulation, he'll continue to do that. And just one example, Mercy was in the White House. She knows that in the first year the president took office, for every regulation his administration imposed, he repealed 22. Which is awesome. So that gave the economy a major jump start. Then broader macro issues like renegotiating trade deals that have shipped good-paying jobs and our great factories overseas. So he took on so many of them day one, whether it's South Korea, whether it's Japan, most famously replacing the job-killing NAFTA, which decimated communities, including right here in Wisconsin. Just ask the dairy farmers about how difficult it was to sell milk into Canada. So, you know, people talk about fair trade, free trade. Well, that's not fair. It's not free. It's not reciprocal. It cost our American workers. So rethinking those trade deals and negotiating trade unapologetically in the benefit of the people that he was elected to represent is so important at the heart of everything he does. And he has said, despite USMCA being the largest trade deal in history, there's a lot he wants to do on this front. So he's got a few more trade deals to take on. And then energy independence. I mean, who would have imagined that as a country we would be a net exporter? I mean, it's truly extraordinary, and it has thank you. Yeah, it's amazing. And it has major consequences. It has incredible consequences from a jobs perspective in terms of the number of jobs and livings and families that the energy sector supports, but it also has extraordinary national security implications because we are no longer dependent on foreign nations for our energy needs, which is really important. So all 4 of those things are really at the foundation of what this president's all about and what's created. You go back to January, this was the greatest economy in the history of this country, with every single category and population achieving record low unemployments and opportunity just soaring for all. And so it's not a subjective question anymore as to whether his economic agenda was working. It's just, it was, right? We saw it. I'll give you one example. For the first time in American history, and this was true for 16 consecutive months, in this country there were more job vacancies than unemployed Americans. Amazing. Amazing. And that's not to say there weren't people who had been marginalized, who had left the workforce, who were outside and weren't being counted in those numbers. What's so extraordinary is because wages were going up for the first time in decades, because employers were getting creative through amazing projects such as Yours Pasture, and they're saying, you know what, we're going to reach out to populations of people we would have otherwise overlooked and give them an opportunity, like our returning citizens, give them a second chance at securing a job and putting themselves on a pathway to careers. As a result of that, of all the new jobs created in 2019, 72% of them came from people completely outside of the labor market. They weren't even on unemployment. So the workforce participation rate, which economists said would never grow, that it was just stuck, it was starting to go up. So great things were happening, and everything Biden and the Democrats have put forward is a complete opposite. No longer energy independence, no longer tax cuts, but rather increasing taxes by $4 trillion, more regulation. Status quo, if not worse, on trade deals. Keep in mind, Joe Biden voted in favor. Just track record, folks.
That's too good of a line. That's just too good of a line. But as you know, in Washington, it's a tough place, like we were talking about. But your father has really been creative, really been able to work with Democrats and Republicans in a number of issues. You brought up criminal justice reform. Obviously, we've also seen his incredible work with the Middle East peace agreements. So walk us through how your father is just able to get from point A to point Z, get it done. Like, just get the work done, a results-oriented president.
Well, I think in part he's creative and he's not bound by party orthodoxy, right? Look, we were talking about trade. He's moved the Republican Party and now they're totally lockstep with him. But the Republican Party was not where he was on trade. Now the Republican Party is, and we're the party of fair and reciprocal trade agreements with the rest of the world, and the party of the American a hardworking patriot. But that wasn't true before. So he is, his approach is, well, what is the right solution? Not, let me execute on a flawed solution or continue to kick the can as has been so often done prior. So whether it's criminal justice reform, which is a very relevant issue these days, and when you think about it, always is, right? But the fact that the president, my husband worked very closely with him on criminal justice reform, it's the most consequential piece of legislation in a generation. And this president was able to not only sign it into law, but really make it happen by pushing people aggressively on both sides of the aisle. So really, really important work, and there's more to do, for sure. When Congress failed to come together and do anything about policing reforms, it was this president who, while supporting our amazing men and women in blue, recognized that there are modifications that could be made and signed an executive order to do it. Look, everyone here knows that there's no one who hates a bad cop more than a good cop. So we partnered with the police to advance good, smart solutions that will make their jobs better and safer and easier, and that are reforms that needed to be made. So it was him who did that through executive order on many fronts, whether it's creating a database for bad cops or creating a standard for use of force, because Congress failed to act and they failed to even take up Tim Scott's really thoughtful piece of legislation that they put forward. But then you look at issues like the environment. We were talking about energy independence, but that's not at the sake of our American lands. He signed into law the most important piece of conservation legislation since Theodore Roosevelt created our national park system over 100 years ago, the Great American Outdoor Act. You probably haven't read about it, but it's going to fund our national parks in every state across the nation for the next 100+ years. The largest piece of legislation ever. The backlog on maintenance, on everything, it was, our parks, and what time in our country's history do we value our parks and outdoor spaces more than in the middle of a pandemic where we're required to socially distance? It's a place of great refuge for American families across the nation. So that's extraordinary. Human trafficking. An issue people weren't even talking about as a domestic challenge, I mean, the gravest of human rights violations, but people didn't even know it was happening right here in America until this president started to amplify it as an issue, raise awareness, to make parents and caregivers more attuned to what was happening, and then critically pass into law 9 pieces of legislation in the last 3.5 years to combat human trafficking and online child exploitation in America. And I could go on and on and on, but that gives you a sense, look, he just gets things done. Yeah. And you don't know about, nobody knows about most of it because it's not reported on, but he really, for him, politics is about people. And so he will push and advance policies that will better your lives and protect the most vulnerable, whether it's quietly or not so quietly.
Usually through Twitter. But, one thing...
Sometimes he'll say, don't tell the Democrats that I want to get it done, otherwise I'll never want to do it. So there's a lot he's gotten accomplished in a little low-key way.
Yes, but Ivanka's being humble. She really has been so involved and in the center of the combating human trafficking. It's been a big issue for you, something that you've really been involved in. Walk us through a little more on the funding that's been provided for this, what you've seen on the ground, and really how it's helping to save lives.
Well, I mean, it's devastating. You know, we're talking about trading and selling and exploiting human beings, far too often children. So it is just the greatest of darknesses, and this country should be very proud of the role we've taken globally in creating the standard for trafficking and what's happening. We were talking about USMCA before. It's the first time ever that human trafficking has been incorporated into a trade deal, so that forced labor is prohibited under our international trade deals. That had never happened before. So that's an incredible thing when you think about the bigger global picture. But the fact is, this is happening right here in our own communities. And with our kids spending so much time online and knowing that half of all kids that are recruited by traffickers are found and identified online, it's very, very frightening, and the problem is something that is growing. So the president took aggressive action to increase the amount of funds the Department of Justice has to find these perpetrators and to prosecute them. So important, especially as they hide on the dark net and on the internet. So you really need to commit resources to finding them and prosecuting them, but also to helping those survivors get the rehabilitation they need, whether it's housing grants. With so many states now forcing sheltering in place, a lot of victims don't have the ability to leave their traffickers, even if they otherwise would have been able to somehow free themselves or escape from the situation. The therapy that's involved in the process of rehabilitation, especially for our nation's youth, and so many of the kids who are trafficked are part of the system in our foster homes. They're some of the most vulnerable. So how do we protect them? How do we help them after they've experienced such trauma? So he's done an extraordinary amount on this front, and we're really proud, the whole White House, of the work that he's done. He's actually the first president ever to make a special White House post just on combating domestic trafficking. So he really cares very deeply about this issue.
Talking about our children, school choice is such an important issue. And yes. And I think one of the things is Wisconsin's really been a leader when it comes to school choice and education reform. So for the president, what does school choice mean, and why is it so critical to get it done and help empower our parents and help our children?
It's one of these policies that it's hard to imagine anyone could argue against. Now they do.
Joe Biden does. I don't know about you.
But that's the thing. It's so, any parent knows that what works for one child under their own roof may not work for another. So how could a one-size-fits-all solution?
And we are taking now a live look where we just did see Air Force One land. So pretty soon President Trump rally will get going because this is imminent right now. Well, we will be taking a short 2-minute break for some of you here on NewsNOW, but don't worry, you won't miss anything as President Trump is not at the podium just yet. For those of you that continue to stay on with us here, thank you so much for continuing coverage as we bring you the very latest, as we are now just 14 days away. More than 60% of Trump supporters questioned in a University of New Hampshire survey center poll say they won't put a Trump yard sign outside their home or a bumper sticker on their car because of fears of vandalism. That number drops by approximately half for Biden supporters wary of placing yard signs on their lawns or bumper stickers on their vehicles. The poll also indicated that more than 40% of Trump supporters in New Hampshire don't talk to their family, friends, co-workers about backing the president. President Trump has narrowed the gap in his race with former Vice President Joe Biden, but still needs to win over certain voter demographics if he expects to maintain the presidency in November, according to a poll released today. The Investors Business Daily and Techno Market Intelligence poll was one of the few to accurately predict Trump's 2016 victory amid a sea of other data indicating the opposite would occur. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden is considering John Kasich, the Republican former governor of Ohio, for a role in his cabinet if he wins the White House, according to a report that came out today. Kasich is one of several conservative politicians and executives being considered for roles in Biden's prospective administration. And the Republican chairman of the Commission on Presidential Debates defended the new rule that will cut mics during the debate to minimize interruptions. This is not a new rule. The campaigns agreed early on back to June. Both agreed to live with it. It provides clearly that for the first 4 minutes of each of the 6 segments that each candidate gets to speak for 2 minutes without interruption. And right now we are taking a live look at the President Trump's rally. There you see Air Force One in the background coming closer to the podium right now. We also have some other news that we want to get to here regarding campaign 2020. As we are now just 14 days away from the pivotal moment, we continue to always bring you the very latest as it is happening across the country here on News Now from Fox. Fox News is reporting that FBI is now in possession of laptop containing Hunter Biden's emails and agree with Director of National Intelligence Ratcliffe's assessment that emails were not part of a Russian disinformation campaign. That is coming from Fox News reporting that out just about a half an hour ago. So expect President Trump to be talking all about that. And we also learned that earlier today, President Trump was taking part of a taped interview with 60 Minutes. And sometime in the interview, President Trump did walk out and stop the interview. We don't have too much context of what led up to that, what kind of questioning was about, but we did learn that President Trump did walk out, so expect maybe for him to say some comments on that here in just a little bit. Well, here we are, folks, 14 days away from the election. Is it setting up to be how it was back in 2016? Remember, back in 2016, the polls were showing in so many states that Hillary Clinton would take the presidency. Obviously, now we know that was not the case. The polls did not show up the way that voters were thinking. So what will happen in 2020? Will the polls be right for Joe Biden, or will it be once again history in the making for President Trump to once again say to the polls and the pollsters, yep, no thank you, and continue on to be the President of the United States? We'll get a better understanding, obviously, in 14 days as we await this, but expect President Trump to be talking a lot about Joe Biden, about how he has not been campaigning all of this week, as his campaign says they are getting ready for Thursday's debate. We will have full coverage, of course, for you on News Now from Fox right here. You won't miss anything. And you can always get the latest information about where you can watch News Now from Fox on newsnowfox.com. We'd love to have you there, as we always take the big events and the live events that are happening in real time. So thanks again for joining us here today. We are going to go and show you this whole rally from beginning to end, so you could just park it right here and see what the president has to say. Obviously, he's going to be talking about Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, about these new revelations now that the FBI is now in possession of Hunter Biden's laptop. That is confirmed by Fox News, putting that out about an hour ago. A new poll shows Biden ahead of Trump among white women. That is what Fox News is reporting right now as well. But like I was just saying, what will the polls be like after the election here in 2020? How will it shake out, and will it be true, or will President Trump say, see, once again, the polls not correct? I've been trying to tell you this for years. But we will see and how it just all unfolds. That is quite the shot there in Pennsylvania, as you got really shoulder-to-shoulder crowd awaiting the president, and then you got Air Force One right there in the background. You can see they are getting ready for his stairs to come down, and then this rally will get going in a little bit. And we appreciate everyone continuing to always join us here on News Now from Fox. Speaking of Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania GOP considering further action against ballot deadline extension as Democrats claim a huge win after the Supreme Court yesterday blocked an effort by Pennsylvania Republicans to put a hold on a 3-day deadline extension for mail ballots to be received in Pennsylvania. The state GOP is considering further action on the issue next week after Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett is seated and before the presidential election. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court, claiming emergency jurisdiction last month, extended the deadline for mailed ballots to be received by election officials to November 6th, citing potential mail delays and the fact state law technically allows mail ballots to be cast on Election Day, something that would make the USPS delivering them on Election Day impractical. Republicans accused the state Supreme Court of exceeding its powers and unconstitutionally making a unilateral move to change election law. Top Republican legislators in the state, including Senate Majority Leader Jake Corman, first filed the request for a stay pending appeal late last month. The Pennsylvania Republican Party filed a separate but similar appeal for a stay later that same day. Then on Monday, just yesterday, the U.S. Supreme Court was divided 4-4, with Chief Justice John Roberts siding with the court's liberals over whether it should be put on a hold on the state Supreme Court ruling and hear Republicans appeal. Because the court, which is short one member after the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, tied the ruling below of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, does stand. We disagree with the Supreme Court's disappointing decision this evening, and noting this was a 4-4 decision, it only underscores the importance of having a full Supreme Court as soon as possible. That was from Pennsylvania Republican Party Chairman Lawrence Tabas, saying also, to be clear, the Supreme Court decided not to grant a stay, which does not mean the actions of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court would withstand a legal challenge to their judicial overreach should the court hear the case. Added Tom King, general counsel for the Pennsylvania GOP, we are disappointed but undeterred in this decision on the stay application by a 4-4 vote. We are still hopeful that a full court will reverse the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's intrusion into the functions of the legislature, and we are more determined than ever to deliver a red wave on Election Day to re-elect President Donald Trump. When asked, King did not foreclose the possibility that the state party could take further action to try to overturn the state Supreme Court ruling before Election Day, saying the party is considering all options. Republicans in the U.S. Senate plan to confirm Ginsburg's replacement, current 7th U.S. Court of Appeals Judge Amy Coney Barrett, early to mid next week, with the most likely days for her final confirmation vote appearing at this point to be Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Election Day is November 3rd, which is a Tuesday of the following week, meaning that Barrett will likely be on the Supreme Court for about 1 week before Election Day. U.S. Senate Democrats have called on Barrett to recuse herself from any election litigation that might come before the Supreme Court, something that would be highly unusual, especially as the cited reason for their calls are simply comments made by President Trump, who nominated her. Barrett, in her confirmation hearings last week, refused to commit to recuse herself in any individual case except for the circumstances she had already disclosed, such as any case her husband, who is also an attorney, may be working on. Despite Republicans considering further action against the ballot deadline extension, Pennsylvania Democrats lauded the Supreme Court's decision yesterday, which left in place the extended deadline for ballots to be received. Ballots still must be mailed on or before Election Day, and it is illegal to try to mail a ballot after Election Day. Huge win for Pennsylvania. That was from Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro said in a tweet, Trump's losing streak continues, this time in SCOTUS. President Trump, meanwhile, called the Supreme Court ruling ridiculous on Fox and Friends this morning. This is a significant victory for Pennsylvania voters, added Pennsylvania Democratic Party Chairwoman Nancy Patton Mills. Harrisburg Republicans have had every opportunity to get serious and work to empower Pennsylvania voters, but at every turn, they have chosen the route of attempting to sow confusion, disenfranchise eligible voters, and silence the voices of Pennsylvanians. Mills continued, the Supreme Court was right to throw out their latest bad faith efforts to muddy this election. What we're looking at right now, folks, is a live look in Pennsylvania as we are getting ready for President Trump to exit Air Force One. While we have this opportunity, we're going to take a short break here for some of you that are watching right now. News Now from Fox. You won't miss anything because President Trump is not at the podium just yet. For those of you that are staying here with us, we do appreciate it, and continuing to bring you the very latest as we get you ready for this big rally, just 14 days away, and then just days away as well from the final debate between Joe Biden. So how we're seeing two different sides of campaigning right now. You got President Trump that is going from rally to rally to rally, and then we had Joe Biden earlier this week announced that he will not be doing any public events until after the debate is over on Thursday. So we're seeing a different type of way of campaigning, and this is a live look right now in Pennsylvania as we continue to wait here for President Trump to come down those steps. As far as the practical effect of the Monday Supreme Court ruling for voters, assuming it stands, Center County, Pennsylvania Commissioner Michael Pipe told Fox News that voters should still waste no time in getting their votes back to us. However, Monday's ruling helps with the ballots that would go right after the deadline to request mail-in ballots on 10/27, Pipe added. Pipe said that the Center County has received about 6,000 mail ballots so far out of just under 28,000 total requested here. And there we go, President Trump coming down now the steps of Air Force One, and we are getting you all set here for this rally that we will be showing you from the beginning until the end, and you won't be missing anything right here. Catch all the action on NewsNOWFox.com as we get you ready here, just 14 days away from the election.
Lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea. From Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless
Thank you very much. Hello, Erie. Remember that great victory we had? Oh, what a victory. 14 days from now, we are going to win the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we are going to win 4 more years in the White House. With your vote, we will continue to cut your taxes, cut regulations, support our great police, protect our Second Amendment, defend our borders, keep jobs and wealth in America where it belongs. Thank you. We will deliver record prosperity, epic growth, and you know that. Have you seen what's been going on? How well we're doing? Did you see the recent poll just came out? 56% of the people want to be here, not 4 years ago. They want to be with us in what we're rounding the turn on the pandemic. 56%, and it's a record. Epic job growth, safe vaccines that quickly end the pandemic. It's ending. Normal life, that's all we want. You know what we want? Normal life. Normal life will finally resume, and next year will be the greatest economic year in the history of our country. This is an election between the Trump super recovery, which is happening right now, and a Biden depression. If he gets elected, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. You know, he's going to double, triple, and now quadruple your taxes. I don't think so. I think I know the people of Erie pretty well. They don't like that. It's a choice between our plan to kill the virus or Biden's plan to kill the American dream, and that's what he'd be doing. Biden will delay therapies, postpone the vaccine, prolong the pandemic, close your schools, shut down our country. And by the way, Pennsylvania's been shut down long enough. Get your governor to open up Pennsylvania. Get your governor to open it up. He will massively raise your taxes, bury you in regulations, dismantle your police departments, dissolve our borders, confiscate your guns, Second Amendment. Oh, you're so lucky I'm president, you wouldn't have a Second Amendment. Eliminate private health care, terminate religious liberty, destroy the suburbs. I'm saving the suburbs. I knocked out the regulation. No, you don't like projects being next to your beautiful house, your American dream. So much for the American dream. And Joe Biden will ban fracking and abolish Pennsylvania energy. How many times did he say it? Your fracking and mining industries will be outlawed, exiled, eradicated, and totally extinguished. And you know it, because it's not up to Sleepy Joe. He's gonzo. It's up to the others in the party. Joe Biden has repeatedly pledged to ban fracking, right? You've all heard it. Have you heard it? Till he got the nomination. Then he came to Pennsylvania. He said, oh, well, I guess it's okay. It's always what they say first. His running mate, the most liberal member of the U.S. Senate, sponsors the $100 trillion. Think of that, $100 trillion. If we had a great year for 100 years, we couldn't make $100 trillion. The $100 trillion socialist Green New Deal, which would eliminate fossil fuels. At this very moment, Biden's website includes a pledge to mandate net zero carbon emissions, which means he would end all fracking. It's what he said. He said it for a year and a half, he said it. Under the Obama-Biden administration, more than 40% of all coal mining jobs will be destroyed, totally gone. And you know what's happened? I mean, did you see what they did to West Virginia and other places, including Pennsylvania, when they were here? Don't forget, they've been here for 8 years before me. If they did a good job, I would have never run. I didn't need this. I didn't need this. Although we're having a good time, and we're doing a good job. No, but it's true. If they did a good job, I wouldn't have run. Thank you. Thank you. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people. I always want the cameras to show. They never like to show. They don't like to talk about it. You can hear how big these crowds are. And by the way, you know, in all fairness to Erie, all over the country, it makes you feel good, all over the country, the biggest crowds anyone's ever had, bigger than what we had 4 years ago. Bigger. Oh, and you have to watch what we do to 60 Minutes. You'll get such a kick out of it. You're going to get a kick out of it. Leslie Stahl is not going to be happy. The Democrat Party hates fracking. They hate coal. Good, beautiful, clean coal. They hate American energy, and Joe Biden will shut it all down. He's going to. Tonight I want to do something. I want to give you, this is an original Donald Trump Broadway play. And I had it done specifically, first time I've ever pulled it out. I had it done specifically for the people of Erie because you guys like energy. You like being energy independent. Do you like that? Energy, doesn't that sound? We don't need all these faraway lands and everything else. We are now energy independent, and we're going to keep it that way. Take a look at this clip. We had it made up, and I think you'll like. First time I've ever done this, right? First time. Go ahead, wherever it is, put it up.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated and no more subsidies for either one of those. I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel. No more, no new fracking.
I'd gradually move away from fracking.
And I think it's critically important on day one that we end any fossil fuel leases on public lands.
Well, like, what about, say, stopping fracking and stopping pipeline infrastructure and
They want to do the same thing I want to do. They want to phase out fossil fuels, and we're going to phase out fossil fuels.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
And what we don't show is his more current version. Oh, yes, we'll have fracking. And the fake news, they don't do anything about it. They don't even talk to him about it. But right now, he's got bigger problems than fracking, I think. You know what it's called? You know what his problem? It's called the laptop from hell. The laptop from hell. To all the people of Pennsylvania, hear this warning. If Biden's elected, he will wipe out your energy industry. You have 1 million jobs. Just like he wiped out your steel industry, and I brought it back. I brought it back. Only by voting for me can you save your fracking in Pennsylvania. We are going to have a great time because you are going to reject the radical left. The United States, and I say it, and I'll say it 1,000 times, the United States will never be a socialist nation. Think of it. Here we are in Erie. People as far as the eye can see. Look at that. I mean, no, it's incredible. It's a great honor. It's a great honor for all of us. We're all in this together. We're all in it. As long as I'm president, we will remain the #1 producer of energy anywhere in the world. You know, we're now #1 in the world with Pennsylvania. You, Texas, we have some great. How about North Dakota does a great job. North Dakota, Oklahoma, so many different. Ohio does a phenomenal job. Phenomenal. A couple of Ohioans. And they have to have the fracking, and they have to have the energy. And we need the energy. And you know, you looked at your car. When did you think you were going to see $2 a gallon and less? You didn't think you were going to see that. That's like a tax cut. And at the same time, our energy industry is vibrant. Last year, I visited the Shell petrochemical plant in Beaver County, the largest investment in your state's history. Our opponents will put it out of business. They want to put it out of business. I don't think that's a great idea. Joe Biden has made a corrupt bargain in exchange for his party's nomination. He's handed control of his party over to socialists. I added another word: communists, Marxists, left-wing extremists, and they're full of hate and rage and scorn for the middle class and for everybody. Frankly, for the middle class and for everybody. The Biden-Harris Kamala. You like Kamala? Kamala. I'll tell you, did our vice president do a great job? Did a great job. I said, Mike, that was too easy. But the Biden-Harris agenda is projected to slash the typical American's income by $6,500. This is in the Wall Street Journal today. A nightmare for Pennsylvania families, $6,500. And that's just cut it down. What you could be making if you do this and what we're doing, because for the last 47 years, Joe Biden has been outsourcing your jobs, offshoring your factories, and selling out the American worker. And who knows it better than Pennsylvania? Look at all the empty hulks that you still have despite all the jobs we've brought back. America lost 10,000 factories while he was vice president. He has no clue, by the way. Just so you understand, he has no clue. How many? Oh, that's okay. He's a servant of the globalists, lobbyists, wealthy donors, and Washington vultures who got rich bleeding America dry. You know, I said the other day, I never thought of it because they're raising a lot of money, $300 million. I could be the king of all fundraisers. I would be the greatest that ever lived. The President of the United States. All I have to do is give me a list of the top 100 companies. I'll call the president of every one. They will pay me whatever I want. I would set every record. The problem is I'd owe them. Because when they call and they have a problem for a lot more money than we're talking about, you know, it's like hard to say, no, hey, they were nice, they treated you good. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. We don't need the money. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. But when you see them raise $350 million in a month and a half, you know deals are being made, just so you understand. Deals are being made, big deals, deals. I mean, look at the deals that he's making for himself, okay? But deals are being made. In 2016, Pennsylvania voted to fire this depraved political establishment, and you elected an outsider as president who is finally putting America first. America first. The fact is, whether you like it or not, whether you want to hear it or not, Joe Biden is a corrupt politician. He's a corrupt politician. And smoking gun emails show that the Biden family sold the vice presidency for a very, very substantial amount of money, more money than anybody would believe. He let China plunder your jobs while his family raked in millions of dollars from China and foreign nations. The Bidens got rich while Pennsylvania got robbed, and so did the rest of our country. If Biden wins, China wins. If Biden wins, China will own the USA, and you know it. There's no way he does anything about it. And yet, media and the big tech, they're desperately trying to cover up everything. They don't want to hear speeches like this. They don't want to hear anything about it. This is a massive scandal that they're trying to suppress. I'm not just running against Biden, Sleepy Joe. I'm running against the corrupt media, the big tech giants, the Washington swamp, and the Democrat Party is a part of all of them, every single one of them. They flood your communities with criminal aliens, drugs, and crime while they live behind beautiful gated compounds. They try to take away your guns, Second Amendment, they want to take it away, while they enjoy private security that's fully armed. They support crippling lockdowns like your governor is doing, while their jobs and their industries remain totally exempt. And it's time to send a message to these wealthy liberal hypocrites by delivering Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, a thundering defeat on November 3rd. Got to get out and vote. Pennsylvania, you got to get out and vote. You know, if we win Pennsylvania, we win the whole thing. We win the whole thing. I mean, it's crazy. They're saying, oh, it's his home state. It's not his home state. He left you when he was 9, right? His parents. I'm not blaming him for that. But, you know, he likes to go around, oh, it's my home state. It's not his home state. I actually went to college in Pennsylvania, okay? So, you know, I think I have more in common. But it's not his home state. He comes from a place called Delaware, and he never leaves Delaware. I like Delaware, too. But he never leaves. Here he's making another speech from... Well, he doesn't make too many speeches, either. He took a 5-day lid. You know what a lid is? I never heard lid. Lid is like, they put the lid like a garbage can, right? They put the lid. He took a 5-day lid. I mean, this guy, all he does is like, stay home. You know why? You know why? Because he can't take any questions now from the press. Can't take any questions. How about yesterday? He finally went outside. He went to get an ice cream. And the press is standing there. These are all killers. I mean, there they are. Look, the fake news. They're standing there. And all they wanted to know, think of me. They're screaming at me like all they want to know, what flavor ice cream do you like? Well, I like vanilla and chocolate, thank you. They don't ask me those questions. If I don't sound like a typical Washington politician, it's because I'm not a politician. And if I don't always play by the rules of the Washington establishment, it's because I was elected to fight for you, and nobody has ever fought for you harder than I have. That I can tell you. I'm fighting so hard because I love my country. I love you, by the way, but I love my country. And this is a tough group in front. The last time they said that, last time this guy said that to another man, I doubt you have. Maybe dead a long time ago. But because I'm determined to ensure that the forgotten men and women of this country, remember, they showed up 4 years ago, and they're showing up now. You see what's going on? Do you see the lines? Do you see what's happening all over the country? They still don't want to report it. This is going to be bigger than 4 years ago. There's more enthusiasm. The crowds are bigger. They'll never be forgotten again, not after this one. They tried to find out who are all these people that showed up last time. Now they're finding out again, except even more so. Now you see what's going on, though, with the lines and everything, and then they have the phony fake ballots all over the place. They're throwing them in the garbage can. Oh, they happen to have the name Trump on them. Isn't that shocking? How about the ones that were printed without my name on it? Right? They had everything on it. They had every race. They had everything. You had the Senate. You had everything. They forgot to put me down. Oh, thank you. And then they say, he's against freedom. Oh, it's wild. The Biden-Harris war on police would be a catastrophe for public safety. You know, I think I have every single... Correct. Good. I like that. I like that. I think we have every single endorsement, even New York's finest, New York City's finest. We love our finest.
All right, looks like, there we go.
Is the mic ready? Yes. I wonder who did that to our mic. I don't believe it was Joe. You know who it was? Crooked Hillary. I think it was probably Crooked Hillary. But Kamala, by the way, she will not be your first woman president. She will not be. Can't let that happen. There'll be a woman president. You cannot let that happen. Harris even urged their supporters to donate to a fund that bailed out rioters right out of jail, including attempted cop killers. I will always stand with the heroes of law enforcement. So will you. And Biden's policies would also decimate our seniors. Biden is pledging mass amnesty and free federal health care. Remember he did that at a stage? You remember? Look, she's shaking her head. She remembers. Remember when he put up his hand? You know, after 47 years, he knew it was not the right thing to do, but everybody else was raising. You know, they're all radical left. And he felt very uncomfortable, but then he looked over here, looked over there. They were all over the place, these people. They were all running for this beautiful office. And he just got the hand up, and I said, thank you, we just won the election. And look, we all have a heart, you know, but what happens is everybody comes in. We're going to have millions of people pouring into it. They get free health care. They get free college. They get a Rolls Royce. Everybody gets a free Rolls Royce. Remember when I said that and CNN went crazy? He knows they don't get a free Rolls Royce. He lied to the American people. Oh, these are sick people. Thank goodness their ratings. CNN ratings, did you see them? They're so bad. Fredo, all these people, the ratings are so bad. Their ratings are terrible. Thank goodness. But he will obliterate your Medicare, your Social Security. I will always protect your Medicare and your Social Security. As I said 4 years ago. I'm also proud that here in Pennsylvania, your Medicare Advantage, you know that, everybody have it, some people have it. The premiums have decreased, listen to this, under our management, 43% since I took office. Where do you hear that? We will always defend our seniors, and we defend them like nobody else can. The battle against the China virus, that's what it is. It's a China, you know, they call it COVID, they call it all different names. It's the China virus, or the China, maybe the China plague. We launched the largest mobilization since World War II. I'll tell you what. The way they cover it, we have done such an incredible, we saved millions of lives. They refuse to cover it, not for me, but for the people, the admirals, the generals, Mike Pence, everybody that worked so hard on this, and they refuse to acknowledge it. We made a lot of really bad governors look good, and some good governors do just fine, but a lot of bad governors, we made them look good. Early on, we took aggressive action. We saved so many lives. Remember, it was supposed to be 2.2 million under a scenario. Could have been more than that. I took rapid action to ban travel from China and from Europe, heavily infected areas. And by the way, the scientists said, oh, don't do it. 2 months later, they were saying, lucky he did do it. Biden opposed both of these life-saving decisions. You remember he said, he's xenophobic. I said, Joe, what does it mean, Joe? Couldn't answer. He goes, he doesn't. Only in Pennsylvania. He goes, he doesn't. Well, you're right about that. We pioneered incredible therapies. Excuse me, here I am. I got you. That was quick. That was quick. Now, great doctors. We have great doctors. And reduced the fatality rate 85%. Think of that. And I'm working to make the antibody treatment that I received available to anybody that needs it free. And it's getting very close to getting approved. We will have 100 million vaccine doses before the end of the year, maybe sooner than that, maybe substantially before. The Biden lockdown, he's willing to lock you down. You guys aren't even open yet. What the hell is going on with your state? You know, Florida's open, all this. Florida had a surge, great governor, surge, went down. Arizona had a surge, went down, great governor. Texas had a surge, went down. You guys never opened. What the hell is going on in Pennsylvania, right? The Biden lockdown will crush America. We will crush the virus. We're doing that. We're crushing the virus. Look at our numbers compared to Europe. You know, they always said, oh, Europe, Europe, Europe. Look at our numbers compared. And we had the biggest of any country, the biggest comeback. We came back faster. We went down less economically, came back faster. If you want depression, doom and despair, vote for Sleepy Joe Biden. And boredom. You know the great thing? I always say someday these people, look at all of them back, look at all those cameras. You know what I say? Someday they're going to get smart. They're going to endorse President Trump. Because if you had Sleepy Joe, that nobody's going to be interested in politics anymore. That's going to be the end of that. They will all go out of business. They should have gone out of business 4 years ago. Then I came along. If you want open schools, an open economy, and a safe, healthy, thriving country, vote for me. We're going to do it. We're doing it now. We're doing it now. We're joined today by a few of my friends. I'll tell you, this one guy, he got it right from the beginning. That's right. How did you know that? He's a warrior. He's tough as hell. He could have only been grown in Pennsylvania because he's that kind of a guy. He said a long time ago when I knew him, it was a year before the election, and I said, this is 4 years plus one. I said, how do you think we're going to do? He said, sir, you're going to win. He said, how the hell do you know that? I just started. The escalator ride wasn't too old, right? The famous escalator with our First Lady. They love our First Lady. Wasn't too old. We had just come down, and a man named Congressman Mike Kelly said, sir, you're going to win in a landslide. Come up here, Mike. Come up. Come on, I don't know. Get up. He said, I can't do it again. They'll figure it out. Don't hurt yourself, though, Mike. Don't prove everything, Mike. Just, hey, fellas, could you help the man? He's, just give him a hand. Take your time, Mike. Don't hurt yourself. Can you imagine? He's trying to climb over a barrier to show that we don't want to hurt our Mike. He's been, right from the beginning, he's been with me. Great guy. Come here, Mike. And also, my Pennsylvania campaign chair done a fantastic, really a fantastic job. Bernie Comfort. Bernie. Thank you. Great job. Great job. Are you okay? Don't touch me, Mike. We'll get in trouble with the media. They'll say, they touched each other. Oh, do you ever say this? If he would have done that, I saved you, Mike. Maybe I saved your political career. They would have had front page story of our two hands touching. Mike, say a few words, please. Thanks.
In our lifetimes, we will never see a president like Donald J. Trump again. I want every one of you to make a commitment to get out and vote November 3rd and absolutely refuse to lose. This is the president. This is the time. This is your solemn oath to America. We're going to make America great again, because of Donald J. Trump. There's no flu that's going to keep this man down. He makes the Energizer Bunny look like a deadhead. This guy never stops. He never sleeps. He is totally dedicated to each one of you, and we should be totally dedicated to him. I love this president. I love his agenda, and I love the fact that on November 3rd, we're going to put him back in the White House. Mr. President, thank you.
What a great guy. Well, that was not a bad job. Not a bad job. He's a great guy, though. He really is. You're lucky to have him. Good job. You know, he shows up without the jacket. I feel a little guilty, Mike, without. You're not cold, Mike, I hope, right? Don't be too brave. We got to keep him around, right, Mike? Thank you, Mike. Great job. I appreciate it. Under my administration, we built the greatest economy in the history of the world, and now we're doing it again. In my first 3 years, we increased family income over $6,000. Listen to this, more than 5 times the gains in all 8 years under the previous administration. Think of that. In just a short period of time, African American unemployment, Hispanic American unemployment, and Asian American unemployment all reached their lowest levels in the history of our country. Think of that. We lifted nearly 7 million Americans out of poverty, a record, including nearly 1.2 million African Americans out of poverty. Since April, just now, we created a record, never happened like this, 11.4 million brand new American jobs. That's never happened before. And you know, you were hearing, it sounds terrible to me when I say it, but you were hearing about 38% unemployment, right? 38, you were hearing 42%. So it was, oh, that's fake news. Thank goodness. But you know what it was 2 weeks ago? 7.8%. Now, 7.8, when we're at 3.4 and 3.5, I don't like to say 7.8, but when you think about it, they were saying, we're going to 42%. You know, not our fault. We had this plague come in from China. We're going to 42%, 38%, 7.8%, and heading down rapidly. That's pretty amazing when you think about it. Under Biden, it took 30 months to recover more than half of the jobs lost in a crisis. We did it in less than 5 months. We've spent the last 4 years reversing the damage Joe Biden inflicted over the last 47 years. You saw what he's done. You know, it's amazing. He's always like, you know, it's not him. He's not being critical. But he has writers. They say, oh, let's do this, that. You know, I have all this stuff. Vice President Biden said. He has no idea what he said. But you know what I get? He just, you know, he didn't leave long ago. He was here for 8 years as vice president and 47 years plus as a politician in Washington. Think of it. And he's always like, why didn't he do this? Why the hell didn't he do it? He just, you know, why didn't he do it? 47 years. Joe, why didn't you do it? He supported NAFTA, TPP, which would have destroyed your industry, and China's entry into the World Trade Organization. One cruel betrayal after another. It's true. I mean, what he's done. For decades, our politicians spent trillions of dollars rebuilding foreign nations, fighting foreign wars, and defending foreign borders. Now we're doing our borders. Do you like that better? But now we're finally protecting our nation, rebuilding our cities, and we are bringing our jobs, our factories, and our troops, our beautiful, beloved troops. We're bringing them all back home. It's time. 19 years to save our auto industry. I withdrew from the last administration's Trans-Pacific Partnership. Pennsylvania gained. Michigan. Auto factories, auto plants being built all over Michigan, Ohio. There wasn't a plant built in 42 years. Now they're being built all over the place. In Japan, I told the Prime Minister, you have to give us plants. You can't just keep sending us cars. You got to make them over here. And they started, and you're a big beneficiary of it. To defend our steel and aluminum workers, I imposed very historic tariffs on dumped steel, right? And that happened, and U.S. Steel, all of your places started doing great. I ended the NAFTA nightmare and signed the brand new USMCA, just kicked in. You know how I know it's good? Because the other two countries aren't so happy. It's good. They took advantage of us for a long time. I took the toughest ever action to confront China's rampant theft of American jobs. Nobody has ever done. And you know what? Nobody's ever done anything like this to China. We're taking in billions. Right now we're taking in billions. Billions and billions of dollars. It affects you a little bit. We gave $28 billion to our farmers because they were targeted by China. And that was just a small fraction of what I took in. Under my leadership, we achieved the most secure border, southern border in U.S. history. So we're building 10 miles. You know, the wall is going to be completed very soon. And we had radical opposition to the wall. Radical opposition. We'll be at 500 miles very soon, and we'll be completed with the wall. And by the way, Mexico, you know, they keep saying Mexico is paying for the wall. They understand that. They're paying for the wall. Mexico's paying for it, and it's very high, just like I said it would be, and it actually goes down very deep. You know why? 2 reasons, actually. Number 1, to hold it up. Number 2, to stop the tunnels. My opponent's immigration plan is the most extreme proposal ever put forward by a presidential candidate. Biden would eliminate U.S. borders. How about that? Do you like that idea? Okay. Just think of it from a how the hell do you have a country if you don't have borders? He would eliminate, and you know, that's signed in the manifesto with Bernie Sanders, Crazy Bernie. Bernie's one of the, I'll tell you what, he's one of the greatest losers, and I mean that in a very nice way. Twice they took it away from him, right? Hillary took it away, and then Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren took it away. Because she stayed in on Super Tuesday. She took enough votes away so he didn't win any states. And then he goes back to the Senate like nothing happened. This guy, I think he should be given, you know, in school, when I was a young guy in school, Sportsmanship of the Year. I never happened to receive that. I got other awards. I never got the Best Sportsmanship Award. But Bernie Sanders should be given Sportsman of the Year. Sportsmanship, I guess, right? No, it's amazing. This happened to him twice. Is Bernie running again in 4 more years? Bernie, are you running again? Crazy Bernie. But they signed the, you know, they didn't sign. I guess they have this deal, the manifesto. They agreed. Biden would eliminate, and she's more liberal than him. You know, she's more liberal. And there's nobody that treated Biden worse than Kamala. That's why I said, why would he ever pick her? There's nobody that treated him worse. Biden would eliminate U.S. borders by implementing nationwide catch and release, which I ended. If it's okay with you. You know what I did? You catch them. What do? They're murderers. They're rapists. You catch them, and then you have to release them. This is called catch. This is this was a Democrat program headed up by crying Chuck Schumer. He's the one. You catch them, crying Chuck. He only cries when it's, I've known him a long time. The only time he cries is when it's necessary. Crying Chuck. No, you catch them and you release them into the country. And you say, in 4.5 years, please come back for a trial. Nobody comes back. A couple of really stupid ones come back, other than making every community into a sanctuary city and suspending all removals of illegal aliens. They want to suspend, in this manifesto, no more moving out illegal aliens, even if they're really bad, including no violent criminals. You catch MS-13, can't move them out. Thank you very much. We're living with them. This is what these people want. This is the most important election in the history of our country. Look, you know, we can play games, and we can be nice, and we can have a good time. You think I need to be standing out here in 50-degree weather, looking at Mike in a shirt, and he feels better about it than I do? Right, Mike? No, this is the most important election in the history of our country. We cannot allow this to happen. We're going to win. We're going to win so big. I think we're going to win. You know, the lines are record-setting. The lines are big. The lines are big. There's a lot of Trump, you know, people that, a lot of people, great Americans, they never liked who they were voting for. They didn't vote. They just didn't vote. And they're online right now. There are a lot of people out there, and it's looking good. It's early, but it's looking good. Get out and vote. Most important election, Mike, we've ever had. I really believe it. And you know what? 4 or 5 months ago when we started this whole thing, because, you know, before the plague came in, I had it made. I wasn't coming to Erie. I mean, I have to be honest. There's no way I was coming. I didn't have to. I would have called you and said, hey, Erie, you know, if you have a chance, get out. But we had this thing won. We were so far up. We had the greatest economy ever, greatest jobs, greatest everything. And then we got hit with the plague. And I had to go back to work. Hello, Erie. May I please have your vote? Right? I love Erie. we had a big deal in Erie. We had a big deal in Erie, right? This was not supposed to be a Trump thing. It's a lot of Democrats, but the Democrats that love Trump because I love them. And you know what? You're workers. You're like me. We work. But that was a pretty big upset, wasn't it, huh? Big upset. But if Biden wins, your borders are gone, which means your health care is gone. The middle class is gone. Your safety is gone. Your country is gone. That's what's going to happen. And don't think it can't happen. Take a look at Venezuela. This could be same ideology as what they're talking about. This could be a Venezuela, but much, much, much bigger. It could happen. It could happen. You see these people. You see what they're saying. You see Portland, where they have anarchists through the street. And it's all Democrat-run areas, no Republican areas. It's all Democrat-run areas. That's where you have. With Portland, it's anarchists. But look at the various, look at what's happened to our beautiful New York since I've been gone. Think of it. You know what? It's like 3.5 years. If you think of it, I think what I can say is, if I would have stayed in New York, that wouldn't have happened. It's very interesting. But look at what's happened to New York in a few years. What's happened to New York, what's happened to Chicago. Look at what's going on in Baltimore. And just remember this, with Obama, Biden, they had nothing but problems. Look at Baltimore. Remember how bad that was? Ferguson. Look at St. Louis. Look at Oakland. Look at all the problems. You know, they act like, oh, it was horrible. And you know, I say it all the time. If they were any good, I wouldn't have run. And if they were any good, if I did run, I couldn't have won. Right? But they were no good. They did a rotten job. They did a lousy job. And Joe is not equipped right now, no longer. He never really was. You know, we used to call him 1% Joe, and that was in prime time. How about this? And in non-prime time, he ends up getting the nomination. Figure that one out. To secure our border, I took the corrupt media. We had to take it on, and they are corrupt. The powerful special interests and the open borders lunatics, because they'll destroy our country. In just 3 years, we removed over 500,000 criminal aliens, including those charged or convicted of more than 145,000 assaults, 40,000 sex crimes, and 6,000 murders. 6,000 murders. We got them the hell out. Some we had to keep because we didn't even want them out. They were too dangerous because we don't want them coming back. And I want to thank ICE, and I want to thank our great Border Patrol, always law enforcement, but ICE and Border Patrol. Under a Biden administration, these criminals would be set free. Under my administration, these criminals are sent home or they have to be put in prison. We invested $2.5 trillion in the U.S. military. We now have the greatest equipment we've ever had. We are the envy of Russia and China and everybody in the world. We have the best missiles and rockets and tanks and planes. F-35, stealth. You can't see it. Other than that, it's not so great. You can't see it. I went to one of the pilots. I said, how good is this plane? Well, it's really good. Why is it good? Because the enemy can't see it. I said, I don't know too much about what you do. Sounds good to me. And for our great veterans, we passed VA choice and VA accountability. We killed the leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi. We killed the worst mass murderer terrorist in many, many generations. Soleimani is dead. Killed many soldiers, many people. I withdrew from the last administration's disastrous Iran nuclear deal. By the way, if and when we win, my first call is going to be from the heads of Iran, and they're going to say, let's make a deal. Their economy went from being strong, they were all over the world, terrorism. Now their economy is totally tanked with our sanctions and other things. And they're down GDP. Think of this. GDP down 27%. Nobody's ever even heard of it. And I don't want that. I want them to be a good cell. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. But I want them to be good. I want them to be strong. I want them to have a great country. The first call will be Iran. As soon as we win, they're going to call and we'll make a deal. And others will also call. They're all hoping. China, oh, China wants us to, oh, China. They want Joe Biden so badly, you have no idea. They are dying for Joe Biden. The one they don't want is, they don't want Trump. They've had enough of Trump. Tens of billions of dollars we get. I recognize the true capital of Israel and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. We don't want Trump, please. We've had enough of Trump. Let's try somebody new. This isn't working out. Hey, look, China has ripped us off more than any country in history. And by the way, plenty of our allies rip us off, too, between trade and military and everything else. I could go into that. I could speak about that all night long. But nobody has ripped us like China for many, long before Obama, in all fairness, and Biden, long before them. They've ripped us off. Where's Hunter? I don't know. That's a good... Where's Hunter? Remember we said that? Where's Hunter? That we made the T-shirt. It was the #1 selling T-shirt. Where's Hunter? What happened to Hunter? Where's Hunter? I also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. 52 years they tried to do it. I did it in about 2 hours. I even got nominated for 3 Nobel Peace Prizes. Do you believe it? And for all different things. One's the Middle East. No, one is Kosovo, Serbia. You know, we're doing a deal with these countries. I say, well, you guys have been fighting and killing each other. If we're doing a deal, let's get them to be like, let's not kill each other. And we worked out a deal, a beautiful economic deal between 2 places that just killed each other for years and years. And it just seems so easy and so natural, right? Anyway, in the Middle East, instead of all of the blood pouring all over the sand, we're ending all of that. And you see what's happening. Countries are joining left and right. No blood. We did it a different way. We did it different. How many times was I criticized? He can't get it done that way. You see this guy, John Kerry, who's grossly incompetent? The only time he ever left the negotiating table was to go into a bicycle race. He was 73 years old. And he broke his leg and his arm. Other than that, it was a wonderful day riding a bicycle. And I pledge that I will never be in a bicycle race, okay? I did more in 47 months than Joe Biden did in 47 years. It's fair. A vote for Republicans is a vote for safe communities, great jobs, and a limitless future for all Americans. A vote for Republicans and a vote for me is a vote for the American dream. That's what it is. It's a vote for the American dream. And in conclusion, we'll make this a little shorter. You know, it's like about 40 degrees. I don't want to lose anybody. You got to go vote. So we're going to go a little shorter because you got to go vote. And I see even Mike, he's so brave. He's starting to freeze his ass off over there. He said, okay, look, I proved my point. President, let's get me the hell out of here. Over the next 4 years, we will make America into the manufacturing superpower of the world, and we will end our reliance on China once and for all. We're already doing that. We will hire more police, increase penalties for assaults on law enforcement, and we will ban deadly sanctuary cities. We will uphold religious liberty, free speech, and the right to keep and bear arms. Second Amendment. And if they get in, you will lose your Second Amendment. Remember that when you're getting ready to press Trump. We will strike down terrorists who threaten our citizens, and we will keep America out of these ridiculous, horrible, endless wars. They're endless. We will maintain America's unrivaled military might, and we will ensure peace through strength. We will end surprise medical billing, require price transparency, already signed, starts on January 1st. It'll be bigger than health care. Watch this. And further reduce the cost of prescription drugs, which I've done, you know, with favored nations. The drug companies do not like me too much. You will have drug prices going down 50, 60, 70, 80%. Could you imagine if he were in this position and people would go up to him, Mr. President, you've done a great job on drug prices. Oh, really? What happened? They're down 82%, sir. Really? I can't believe it. You better give me the credit, damn it, I'll tell you. What I've gone through, the drug companies, they're spending a fortune on fake ads. They don't want me. They don't want me. China doesn't want me. Iran doesn't want me. Nobody wants me. Nobody. Erie wants me. Erie wants me. And we'll always protect patients with pre-existing conditions, always. America will land the first woman on the moon, and the United States will be the first nation to land an astronaut on Mars. That's already moving along. We will stop the radical indoctrination of our students and restore patriotic education to our schools, right? We will teach our children to love our country, honor our history, and always respect our great American flag. And we will live by the timeless words of our great national motto. It'll never be changed. You know, they want to change that. You know, they want to take certain words out, like the word God, okay? In God we trust. We'll always keep it. For years you had a president who apologized for America. Now you have a president who is standing up for America and standing up for the great people of Pennsylvania. Always will. Great state, great place, a lot of friends. So get your friends, get your family, get your neighbors, get your coworkers, get your boss, right? Come on, boss, we got to vote. And get out and vote. You know, you tend to vote very late, which is good. I understand that. But you know, it's just the norms. And you tend to vote late. Get out and vote. Get out and vote. This is the biggest election of our lifetime. Get out and vote. From Scranton to Allentown, from Pittsburgh to Harrisburg, and from Easton to right here in Erie, we stand on the shoulders of red-blooded American patriots who poured out their heart, sweat, and soul to secure liberty and defend our freedom. Pennsylvania is the state where our founding fathers declared American independence. Think of it, Pennsylvania. Think of what you represent as a state. What state, honestly, and we can say it to the other states, I love them, they've been great to me, they voted for us, everything. But what state's done some of the things that have taken place in Pennsylvania? It's where the Army weathered its brutal winter at Valley Forge, where General George Washington led his men on a daring mission across the Delaware, and where our Union was saved by the incredible heroes at Gettysburg, right? I mean, who can say these things? And these names, right? Gettysburg, these names. This is the place where generations of tough, strong Pennsylvania miners, steelers, factory workers forged the greatest nation in the history of the world. And believe me, the best is yet to come. It's coming. It's all happening. The best is yet to come. Proud citizens like you help build this country, and together we are taking back our country. We are returning power to you, the American people. We are returning power to you. And I said that a long time ago when we started. It was being taken away. I just didn't know quite how deep the swamp was. It's a little deeper, a little more treacherous than I thought. But we're beating them. Oh, well, their head will explode on November 3rd. Can you imagine? And then you know what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen? I think they're finally going to say, okay, that's enough. Let's go. I think by that time they're going to have it. They will have had it. He goes, they better. With your help, your devotion, and your drive, we are going to keep on working. We are going to keep on fighting. And we are going to keep on winning, winning, winning. Right? We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together, with the incredible, and I mean that, I know you well, a lot of time in this incredible land, this beautiful place, this place of history, the incredible people of Pennsylvania. We have made America powerful again. Our military, never been like this. Remember at the beginning when the overrated general said to me, "Sir, we have no ammunition." I said, no president should ever have that. No president should ever hear those words, "Sir, we have no ammunition." We now have so much ammunition that even Mike would be impressed. So we've made it powerful again. We've made America wealthy again. Stock market, new records, your 401ks. Everybody happy with their 401k? You want to see your 401ks crash? It was on today. Varney, you know, Stuart? He had a gentleman on. He said, you know, if Trump gets in, the market's going to go through the roof. If Trump loses and this other guy gets in, you're going to have a problem like you've never seen before. And I agree. Your 401ks, your stocks, you want to see them drop like a rock? If you want to have some fun with your family, explaining, why is it down 80%, Dad? We don't love you anymore, Dad. No, your 401ks are doing great. Everything's doing great. We're going to be in a position very soon like we've never been in, even better than we were a year ago. We've made America strong again. We have made America proud again. We have made America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much, Pennsylvania. Go out and vote. Go out and vote. Thank you, Pennsylvania. Thank you. Thank you.
And there it is, President Trump wrapping up his big rally in Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania. You are watching News Now from Fox, and like so many times we've been seeing the last couple of weeks, President Trump doing the dance moves when he does finish up these rallies. So here we go. 14 days away from election night. It'll be here before you know it. We've been really featuring all of the rallies from President Trump, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Mike Pence. The road to 2020 does continue, and you, of course, will always get to see it right here on News Now from Fox. You can always check us out at newsnowfox.com as we provide worldwide coverage here for you. But President Trump wrapping up in Erie, Pennsylvania. How will these final 14 days wrap up for the campaigns here? We saw Joe Biden this week saying, you know what, he is not going to do any public campaigning until after the debate, which is taking place on Thursday. This will be the final debate between President Trump and Joe Biden, and we will see who is right come 14 days from now. Is it the polls that's saying that Biden is leading, or will it be President Trump that says, don't you remember what happened 4 years ago? Don't you remember when everyone, the media, mostly everyone except President Trump supporters thought Hillary Clinton would be the president? That turned out to be not the way that history would be made. It was President Trump, and now we will see, can he do it one more time? Here we go, folks. 14 days away. You are seeing the conclusion here wrap up on the News Now from Fox. We appreciate everyone joining us here worldwide as we provide more coverage throughout the day. Thank you again for joining us. We're going to go to a quick break here for some of you, 2 minutes, and you'll be back with more coverage from around the country.
The American people where it's really needed. To the point about the Supreme Court, she is a wonderful nominee. I think everybody got an opportunity to see that last week. She acquitted herself extremely well in front of the committee. I was proud of all our Judiciary Committee members, the way they handled that hearing. I think it was great. In fact, even the ranking Democrat, Senator Feinstein, on the committee indicated that she thought she was very impressed with the nominee and thought that the hearing was conducted in a very fair and balanced way. And I agree with her on that point. I think she's absolutely right. This is a terrific nominee. As the leader pointed out, we're on a schedule now to confirm her early next week, and we intend to do that because I think we all believe on the Republican side that we want justices on the Supreme Court who are there to apply, interpret the law and the Constitution in an impartial way, to call balls and strikes, not to rewrite the rules of the game. She is a constitutionalist. She made that very clear, and that's what we want to see on the Supreme Court and in all the federal courts.
Well, Republicans are ready to vote for urgently needed relief for the American public, and the bill that we're going to be taking a look at is $500 billion, a very significant amount of money aimed at patients, aimed at workers, and aimed at school children. I mean, that's where the needs truly are. If you take a look at this, it's a second round of paycheck protection for small businesses. It's $100 billion for our children to be back in school safely. It's unemployment benefits for people who, through no fault of their own, are out of work. It's money for vaccines, additional money to develop vaccines, and then to distribute those vaccines. That's what the American people need. So there is an urgency, and the need to act is now. If Nancy Pelosi were actually serious about doing relief for the American people, she would tell her deputy, Chuck Schumer, to get on the bill that we're bringing to the floor today. If Nancy Pelosi were actually serious, she would eliminate all the things in her legislation that have nothing to do with coronavirus, and she would eliminate the poison pills. Now, if Nancy Pelosi were really serious, she'd call back this do-nothing Democrat House of Representatives to Congress to work with us on finding solutions for the American people. But Nancy Pelosi isn't serious. That's because she doesn't want anything to pass. She and Chuck Schumer have made a calculated decision, it's a political decision, that nothing is going to pass until after Election Day, because they believe that they have better chances of success on Election Day if the American people are held hostage all the way through then. The American people need to see clearly what is happening, and I know certainly in Wyoming they do see clearly what is